Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wandering Watercolor. Today we will be going over the second page of the Cute Dogs Watercolor Coloring Book. There's way too much glare, I don't think you can even really see that. Wow. Looks just like a blank page here. So this is the second page. Here, I'll show it on the other camera. There we go. So this is the book. If you bought it from me and that's why you're here, thank you. I really appreciate you. I do work pretty hard on these. Otherwise, if you are interested in purchasing it, it'll be in the description, and you're always welcome to just draw. You can pause, draw this image, and then just continue playing when we start painting it. And I also have my own paint. I do make everything by hand. This is my little paint canisters that I sell, and they are I mix my own paint using gum arabic, glycerin, and pigment. Sometimes there is some variability in the paint itself, but I feel like I'm getting better and better every time. The other things that you need are just a dish that you can mix your colors on. It can easily be something from just like a glass or a porcelain dish that you have at home. You can clean it off when you're done. It's all completely non-toxic. And then a brush. So this brush is just a cheap brush that I had gotten from Walmart. Sorry, I was going to try to zoom in, but I have the focus locked. So basically this is it's like 16 cents. It's like a pack of 5 for like $2. So it's a very cheap brush, but it still works. I'm using this one just to show that any brush works. It doesn't have to be anything special. And also just a scrap piece of paper and a rag. I always have a rag with me. This one looks a little used up, but it's actually clean. It's just that it's been stained over time because I use it so much. But I do wash it like maybe once a week. Okay, so it's a golden retriever that we are painting today, and basically the light will be coming from this angle. So a lot of this right here will be in shadow, and then the rest will be more light to it. So let's get started. So first we need kind of an orangish color. So we're gonna get a little bit of red, not too much. I may have gotten too much there. And then grab some yellow, maybe a little more yellow. Excuse me. So this is going to be kind of the initial flat wash where we're just kind of blocking in the color, and we want it to be a little lighter, so we need more water and less pigment. So we're adding more water so that it can be more transparent when we lay it down on the paper. Okay, here we go. So first we'll start right there. And if you go inside some of the lines, like if you mess up a little bit, it's not the end of the world. It's fine. Just kind of blocking it in. And even if you go in where the teeth and the lips are of the dog a little bit, it's not too big of a deal. Feel free to feel loose with it. Don't feel constrained or like it has to look a specific way. Just kind of lay it in, and then we can iron out the details as we go. Watercolor is a very loose medium. That's part of the reason why I enjoy it so much. Is you can even do a couple of splatters, kind of like that. Maybe just a couple of marks like that. Like, it does not have to be perfect. And I'll show you why. Mainly, the main reason is because when watercolor dries, it dries much lighter. So it looks kind of... The mark right now is very evident, but it becomes lighter and it's less apparent as the piece dries. And then you can kind of manipulate more the focal points as you add more intensity with more pigment in the color, as you layer the shadows and the highlights. Well, the highlights you kind of want to leave them in the beginning, but there are some tricks that you can use to emphasize the highlights. Because remember, with watercolor, you work from light to dark, so you always want to try to leave the lightest areas light, because once you add color to them, there's no going back. So like, for example, right here, all of this, like the back of the dog here on the side of the face, we're gonna aim to leave that lighter as we lay in shadows on this side. So we just have to mix a little more orange. Okay, and then throw it down on this side. So now this time the orange that I mixed is a little stronger, but not by a lot. Very similar to the color that we just laid down. And I'm doing kind of like short, quick strokes to emphasize the texture of the hair. So this dog has a lot of hair, which is a good opportunity to show the texture. And just kind of do some strokes and here and there, and then this back leg over here is going to be covered in shadow. And a little more on this leg. Does not have to be perfect, keep that in mind. And just a quick trick, if you haven't watched any of the previous videos, this is something that I talk about frequently. Your brush tip, regardless of what kind of brush you use, you can always sculpt the tip. So right now it's kind of flat, like you see how it gives like a very thick line when you use it. You can tilt it and then it'll give you a thinner line, or you can also, if you do a couple of strokes and just kind of like form it and rotate it, and then it'll form more of a fine tip, and then that'll also give you a fine line. Now, the amount of pressure that you apply is also important, because if I go like this, I have a thin line, but if I press down hard, I have a thick line. So that's just to give you a kind of like a very, very quick breakdown of how that works. And you develop more of a feel for it the longer you do it, obviously. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of brown, but this brown has too much of a orange sheen to it. So to kind of neutralize that, I'm just going to grab a little bit of the dark blue here, because I want more of an earthy brown, because that's going to be the ground that the dog is stepping on. A little more water, and a little more dark blue. That's a much better brown. And so the way that I'm going to do it is, the light is coming from up here, going down. Excuse me. So I'm going to use that to outline where the shadow would be. So I'm just going to go like this. And like that. If you press down a little harder on as you're laying down the stroke, it'll give you more of the texture from the paper underneath. Okay, so that's good so far. I'm going to get a little bit of this brown now, directly mix it in with the orange, maybe a little more yellow, and then a little more brown. And that gives us a stronger orange. So we can go ahead and start adding more emphasis on the shadows. I'm going to outline this right here. that. And then here on the ear back here. And then just a little bit of outline. Some of the lines that you see, it's okay to go over and put a little bit of an outline to them. And then down here underneath the chin, it emphasizes the form. And like that. And this side of the front leg, I guess I was about to call it an arm, but that's not an arm. Okay. And a little more back here on the back leg. So we are going to cover that for the most part. We're going to leave a little bit, kind of like a hint of a light right on the outside. Basically, you want to leave a little bit, because you know, like when you have any cylindrical object and then you have shadow, there's always going to be some kind of like radiant light on the sides of the object. So you can even see right here, there's light coming in on my arm and there's shadow right here, but you can also see a little bit of a highlight from the light being reflected from the paper onto my arm. Right there. It's kind of hard to see, but the closer I put my arm to the paper, the more you can see it. I hope the camera's picking that up all right. But yeah, that's basically the idea. I'm gonna do a little bit more right there. Like that. Like that. And the more you use your brush, the less pigment is left on it, and you can use that lesser pigment to make more fainter strokes. And that's what I'm doing here. It gives variability in the color of the strokes that you're putting down, and it actually makes it look more realistic, because in reality there would be thousands of different shades of the fur color on the dog. Okay, so excuse me. So I really like this one so far. Next we need to mix the pink color for the tongue and some of the lips here. So what we'll do is we'll grab the red, okay, like that. We'll grab a little bit of the yellow ochre, and that's a pretty close color. Let me grab my trusty scrap piece of paper here, and I would say that that's good. I may need to kind of do a little bit of a wash on it, like less pigment, more water, and then we can add more as needed. So we're just going to go ahead and block all of that in where the tongue is hanging out here. So all of that. Okay, so all of that, that's good. We'll do a little bit around the teeth there for where the gums are. Now the thing is, these dogs have very black lips on the outside. On the inside they're pink, on the outside they're black. So we're gonna have to kind of like paint that in slowly. And then while that's drying, I'm going to grab some of the lighter blue. And you don't need a lot, just a little bit, because we're going to throw in some of the background. Actually, I'm going to grab a little bit of the green as well. Just make it more of a... tilt it more towards the teal color. The reason being is that those two contrasting colors look really nice together. They help one another pop. So when we do that for the background, you'll see how I'll just lay it in right behind the back of the dog right here. This color helps this color stand out. So that's why it shows that color. Okay. And you can kind of make, like, you know, the strokes, make the paper, the texture of the paper kind of stand out. Okay. There we go. And a little more on the side over here. Okay, take a moment, take a look at it. I always like to step back for a moment just to see how things are looking. Okay, so far so good. I am happy with the way that it looks. And next, excuse me, next we want to mix a darker shade of the orange just so we can kind of add a little more depth. So what we will do is we'll grab some of this yellow, we'll mix it in right here where we had the brown from earlier. And then same place, we're going to grab some of the red, mix that in, and that gives it a really nice kind of dark orange. See, I'm going to grab my scrap piece of paper here, maybe a little more red, and then a little more orange. Because I don't want it to look too brown, but I don't want it to look too red either. Let's see, this might be a good medium. Yes, I'm happy with that. And basically, in the areas where it would be darkest, we're just gonna go and lay that in. We're not gonna do too much. We're just gonna do a little bit because it'll help emphasize which way the light is coming from. And do a little bit here in the face. Maybe a little bit where the folds. It kind of helps emphasize some of the smile of the dog. And just do a couple of short strokes to show the hairs. But we're gonna keep them to this side of the paper. On the fur, other than for the leg back here, which that one we do need to kind of strengthen a little bit, the dark color of it. So we'll go like this. Okay, there we go. Like that, and maybe just a little bit just for the outline of this leg, because we want to show again the light is coming from up here, so that's how that looks. Okay, that's pretty good. Rinse off my brush, and then one thing that I will also add is I'll just grab a little bit of this color. I'm actually gonna dilute it with water a little bit. Do a couple of test strokes here. I want to do like this to show the form of the muzzle. Like that. There we go. Maybe a little bit there. Maybe a little more right there. Okay, that's better. Okay, I'm gonna step back and take a look at it again. Okay, it's looking pretty good. We are almost done. Obviously, we still have the important part of the nose, the eyes, and the lips. So that's going to be kind of hard because there's a high contrast between those. And so how I'm going to do that is I'm just gonna mix up my black over here. You'll notice that I mixed it in where the blue was, because the blue will kind of help dull the darkness of that color. So let's see. So that's fine. And again, remember to kind of sculpt the tip of your brush so that you can get a good detail in there. And then so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go in where the lips are, and I'm just gonna go just like that, and just kind of go in like that slowly. And I'm sure you know what a golden's lips look like. They have those big kind of like floppy dog lips, and they're very black, but on the inside they're pink. So we're trying to draw that in without overpowering the color on the inside of the mouth, which I think that actually looks okay. And it'll dry actually a little lighter than what it looks like right now. And then we're just going to use the exact same color and then color in the nose. Just like that. Okay. And again, I'm going to try sculpting my brush a little bit so that we can get more of a point for the eyeballs. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to grab a little more black, and then I'm going to go right in here. On the bottom of the upper lip. Like that. And like that. And rinse my brush. Okay, and then I'm gonna work on maybe a little darker pink that we need right there. We'll get a little bit of the green, throw that in here, because it gives you kind of like a brown pink almost. Maybe throw in a little bit of red in there. This is about the color that we're needing, and the reason being is most of the mouth it's in shadow because of we're kind of looking into the mouth there, so we need to throw in a little bit of shadow like that. Like that. And actually also you can use that to go over where the teeth are, because most of the teeth are in shadow as well. And just give that a moment to dry. And I'm just gonna tap to see, okay, the nose is pretty dry. I can go ahead and add some emphasis on shapes. There you get a little more of the black. Okay. Actually, I'm getting a lot more. Now I'm basically using it almost like ink to add very specific details that I really want emphasized. Like the pupils, for example. Just slowly fill them in a little bit at a time. It gives a lot more depth. It actually makes it look a lot more realistic when you have a high contrast in areas of detail. That's specifically for the eyes. Just want to make sure that I'm not blocking the camera. Okay, we're gonna go a little bit like this, and then a little bit like this. Just for the nostrils, basically. Okay, and then a little bit of emphasis right there and right there. Okay. That looks pretty good. I just want to maybe emphasize a little more in the mouth where the tongue is. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of the black, mix it in with this brownish pink that we had. We're making it really a lot more brown now. I'm going to grab a little bit of this brown and then add a little more of this. So we really want to emphasize the contrast in there because it'll help make it look just more realistic. We're basically done with the piece. We just want to add just more definition so that it's not as confusing looking. So right here, I'm just gonna go in and grab a little more and just kind of maybe dab a little bit. The area itself wasn't completely dry, so that's probably why it's giving me difficulty. But yeah, that's about it. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I'm actually gonna dry my brush off, and then I'm just gonna pick up a little bit of that pigment right here. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it for that one. Alright, so that was it for page number 2 of the Cute Dogs Watercolor Coloring Book. Again, it'll be in the description along with the paint if you're interested in purchasing it. And again, thank you if you did purchase it from me. I make everything through the use of lithographs, so it's definitely not easy, and it takes a while, so it's always nice to see when they're appreciated. Please feel free to tag me so that I can see what you make. I always like seeing what people make. I'm actually probably going to make a video at some point showing how people have done different pages. It's really interesting to see. I've had a bunch of people tag me so far, and it's yeah, I love seeing that. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and I will see you next time.